The following show is brought to you by Broken Eggs Media, your source for extremely satisfying syndication. Faster performance, lower bandwidth costs, proven solutions for content delivery. Cashfly.com. Stop hosting, start delivering.
Welcome to the Quake Wars podcast. This is episode 2, The Strog Invasion. I am your host, Imran, and with me today from across the pond are Sasha and Ash.
Welcome to number 2.
Hello.
Alright, well, let's hit the ground running here and drop right into news. Some news for all of us. Ash, what do you got?
Well, some very interesting developments on the modding side of Quake Wars this week. The MechWarrior Living Legends mod team have released their newsletter for June, which showcases, and I'm sure you will both agree on this, some pretty enticing screenshots.
Oh yeah, with the game not even released yet and mods getting started already. That spells mods galore throughout Quake Wars. I can't wait.
You know, if we're going to look at this from an objective point of view, which I think we should, I really think that I am totally unimpressed by these screenshots.
Oh no.
I mean, you've got Box Plane and Box Walker, and one of them looks like Ed 209 from RoboCop, and I guess maybe an Audi
Maybe
had
they're
a
going
baby.
for that kind of feel.
And now you have this weird-looking MechWarrior thing. But, you know, this is just a screenshot from a model that someone decided to render, and we have no idea what the gameplay is going to be like. We have no idea how the graphics are going to look. Besides these two models, you don't know how they look in game. So, you know, I'm just going to take a wait and see approach on this one.
Wow. Harsh. But you can't deny it's a beautiful image. Absolutely awesome. You know, it kind of reminds me of something out of the Thunderbirds, which was a UK TV show. That I used to watch, don't watch anymore. But it's a little more space age. I mean, you know, take a look at the cannons, for example. You know, I bet they pack a punch. You know, I can just visualise myself strafing down a road with one of those bad boys, blowing people up, but doing so with elegance and style.
You can't compare a computer game with a puppet show. You see that big plane jet looking thing? I wonder if that's flyable, like by a person or GDF, or is it going to be dropping the emplacements off, or would it be even better? It would be even better dropping the reinforcements instead of them dropping out of thin air, like magic.
Speaking of dropping out like magic, it seems that out of nowhere, Eden Splash Damage decided to go ahead and drop us with the biggest news of Quake Wars so far. The beta's out. If you don't know the beta's out, what are you doing? Because the community is going all crazy about it, video game websites are going all crazy about it, that Fireplanet decided to put out a public beta for Quake Wars. Now, we kind of figured this was coming. You know, the closed beta's been going really well, and the game's been delayed another month or so for people to play the public beta and, you know, get all the bugs ironed out, check some hardware compatibilities. And Ash, I believe you have the first paragraph from the beta news press release.
I do indeed. At long last, we are delighted to confirm the impending Enemy Territory Quake Wars public beta. The ETQW closed beta has been going extremely well and yielding excellent results. We want to give the people the opportunity to give us feedback on the game, so we're going to open a public beta with 60,000, yes, that's right, 60,000 slots available. It is big. This way, we'll be able to test many more combinations of hardware, RAM, CPU, graphics card, drivers, etc. than we've been able to ourselves, and also get a better idea of how the game plays for the general gaming public.
That's right, and the public beta build will consist of a single map named Sewer, which is part of ETQW's Pacific campaign. Set in Japan, the map revolves around a Strogg base hidden in a sewer. It's an interesting mix of outdoor and indoor vehicle and infantry combat, deployables and counter-deployables, and good old-fashioned FPS combat. That was not my wording, that was theirs. And
Lies.
you can continue to read the rest of the press release by looking at our show notes or visiting the ETQ Dubs community, but I think it's time we'd rather move on.
I like that. Q-dubs, that's gonna stick. Yeah, I think the public beta is like a rather low-key release, because for like a whole day I never knew it was released until Tim, our graphics guru over here at Broken Eggs Media, sent me an email with a key and to the File Planet download link. And even then I needed to subscribe to File Planet, but Imran here hooked me up, and I downloaded it and played it in the same night, and I couldn't get enough of it really, because I was just hooked on it. Just exploring the game and all different vehicles and all that jazz. But yeah, I played it so much that I was late for college in the morning. But it was worth it. In the end, I enjoyed it to the utmost, and I still am now actually. And I find it very amusing how the helpless little GDF keep on getting blown up by my Icarus destroy bombs.
That is a beautiful feature, hovering above little GDF men and firing bombs of destruction onto their heads. And I also actually had the fortune of participating in a few versions of the closed beta, as well as a public version, and it really is interesting to see how far the game has come since, you know, say March, April time. I'm not going to say anything about anything that you don't know already, but the frame rate's been boosted, the look has been strogified to sexual perfection, and the RPG is more beautifully destructive than ever before. I am confident in my computer and the development of the game that I can lay mines and hide, knowing some poor soul is going to get blown to hell. The most satisfying experience thus far, though, is when I flew into the air on a Strogg Icarus over the enemy as they were starting up the EMP disruptor, only to knife most of them before my attempt was ended in style by a team kill.
Wasn't that me who team killed you, Ash?
Moving on, the first unofficial Quake Wars competition has been announced by i3D.net for European players. I will read the quote-unquote official announcement. i3D.net, in association with QuakeWars.net, are pleased to announce the first ever Cup for enemy territory, Quake Wars. The Cup will take place using the public beta during the months of July and August. All European, and in parentheses, top clans, teams, and communities are invited to participate in this cup, which will decide who goes home with 2 enemy territory Quake Wars game servers from i3D and 8 core pads. The cup will have a minimum of 40 clans, which will be divided into 8 pools of 5 clans, each team playing against all the other teams in the pool. The top 2 teams from each pool will qualify for the knockout stage, which will take place in single elimination. We feel that this will give all competing clans the chance to play a number of matches in a relatively tight time schedule. The first matches will take place during the first week in July. And if you want the link to that news post and how to sign up for that, if you're a European player, then please check out our show notes.
Well, speaking of competition, the Total Gaming League is giving one lucky member an all-expenses-paid trip to QuakeCon 2007. The winner will receive free airfare, a free stay at the Anatole Hilton, and a BYOC pass to the largest annual US LAN event. Now, you're asking, how do I participate in this beautiful event? Well, you have to be a TGL member, over the age of 18, and you always have to be a United States resident. So if you match the criteria, head on over to their website, which is www.totalgamingleague.com/relay. The contest ends on July 22nd. The best of luck to everyone.
Yeah, so there we go. We got 2 things. We got one for the European side and one for the American side. Those of you who are playing in China, well, I'm sorry. You have no contest to work for. But
A lot of competitions.
Sasha mentioned earlier, Tim, the graphics editor, producer, and forum moderator extraordinaire here at Broken Eggs Media. And I understand that Tim here has a tip for all you Quake Wars fans on how to get an unlocked frame rate.
Well, thank you, Irman, for that humbling intro. Yes, I do have a tip for you guys if you guys are in the public beta. This is to unlock your frames per second, or FPS. The standard FPS is set to 30, and that's the highest you can go. But with this little tip I've got, you can get it to go to 60. So what you need to do is, apparently for what I read on the Enemy Territory Quake Wars beta forums, you need to open up your command console and type in com, or com underscore unlock capital FPS and then 1. And what this does is it sets the master CVR file to exceed over the maximum 30 frames per second. And then after you're done doing that, you can type in com underscore unlock underscore timing method, and this selects one of the 3 timing methods for unlocked frame rates. And after you're done with the timing method, you can move on to com underscore unlock underscore max FPS. Now this only does anything if com underscore unlock underscore timing method is set to 1 or 2. This limits the maximum FPS your PC will try to achieve. This will be then rounded to the next lowest multiple of 30. And if you set this to 59, it will in fact be treating the maximum as 30. This helps to control the fluctuation that sometimes that is prevalent in the game. There are a couple of other tuning CVRs, but those shouldn't really need much tweaking. Com underscore unlock underscore safety margin adjusts how conservative the estimation is, and com underscore unlock underscore average frames is there to help ignore spikes and throws in the estimation. The defaults of these should be fine for most people. Now there's a second part in this little thread that was posted up by Firog, one of the programmers for the ETQW, and it's called tuning. The defaults are to unlock the FPS with a max FPS of 60 and timing method 2. This basically means that if your system is fast enough to exceed 60 frames per second all the time, then it will do a constant 60 frames per second. If your system isn't fast enough to exceed 60 frames per second at all times, then it will fluctuate between 30 and 60, and so on and so forth with the lower end systems. And lower end systems, you'll probably only be able to reach 30 if not lower than 30, which will, 20 and 15 and so on and so forth. If you have a really good system, you can probably do better than 60 frames per second. In that case, try increasing your max frames per second. I find that on my dev system here, he has a 2.4 gigahertz Core 2 Duo, the 7800 GT with 2 gigs of RAM. Yeah, lucky guy. He can do 90 frames per second pretty constantly. So he has his set to 90, so he's probably seeing things that most of us can't see unless you have a really, really kick-butt system. And then he also goes into a little bit about V-syncing. If you have your monitor's refresh rate set to 60 Hz and have the V-sync enabled, then you might as well set com underscore unlock underscore timing methods to 0. This is because a new frame won't display until evenly spaced 60 frames per second point anyway. This is what timing methods 1 and 2 try to achieve. It will also limit you to a maximum of 60 frames per second. So if you have V-sync enabled and you have your monitor set to 60 Hz, then it pretty much cancels out everything you just did. So if you want to achieve more than 60 frames per second, try to turn those V-syncs off and up your hertz on your monitor if you can. If you're using a flat screen, then you're going to want to up it all the way to 75, and if you have a CRT monitor, then you want to up it to the highest hertz it can hit. And that's it for me with the frames per second unlock information.
Wow, that was a well-jargoned and full of technical babble that I don't understand quite yet, but as always, we have a plethora of links in the show notes that you can check out. You can read the whole post for yourself. Tim, would you mind staying on for our radar segment?
I would be delighted.
Excellent, excellent. And with that, let's go ahead and move right on in. Alright, and now our second annual radar segment with a roundtable discussion between myself, Sasha, Ashley, and Tim on in-game billboards. Woohoo. So, Now, we've seen this happening for a while now. We've seen it in a couple of old Xbox games, PC games, and they've mostly been static billboards that, are released at the time of the game, and the bill is reflective of the release time. So in some games, you've got billboards for products that have been released and phased out, or movies that came out, and they're all old. But there's a new trend happening now with most online games, and 2142 did this most famously, is they're having billboards that automatically update based on not only the